and Learn podcast, hosted by Yuliya and Ina, friends, colleagues, passionate teachers and learners. In this series of cozy talks with a cup of tea or coffee, we talk about how we live and learn, move countries, adapt to change and mentalities, encourage and teach. While polishing our own understanding of learnability, we find support in the 4 pillars of Live and Learn philosophy, which include growth mindset, expat life, language acquisition, and skills development. Join us, enjoy, live and learn.
Happy to see you. What a lovely thing to say this after actually seeing you in person for so many months. I'm so happy to see you in person. I'm so happy to see your smile, to see you a 3D person.
And now, luckily, we can see each other 3D, 4D, 5D, and enjoy the company of each other because of the situation which is getting better. And we'll see if it is still good enough when this episode is on air. And it's all about, the changes, positive changes for better that we hope will be with us and still ready for change anytime. That's what we discuss and Live and Learn every time, I think. And it's also applicable to everyday activities, situations, etc. Okay, so life is going on. There are some changes and we need to adapt anyway.
Embracing change is the hottest topic in the business world, and so many webinars are there, so many topics, disciplines, transformation, change management. This is absolutely the agenda in the around me, and I don't know. Tell me, what's changed for you? What's your most recent change?
I would say my most recent challenge, as well as change, as well as a result. I don't know. I've taken a German exam to certify me as a C1 German user. An advanced level is something much, much different from all the previous levels in terms of what quality of language acquisition it gives, and it is. We could talk more about what it means to have an advanced level in a foreign language or in a second language. And how it feels from inside as a user of a language at an advanced level.
Let me congratulate you on air on getting this point in your learning journey, on reaching the milestone, reaching this goal, this target. So I think we can talk about how does it feel, but also what does it take. And I do really agree that reaching the C level is something completely different. So like A level, we have A1, A2, and they feel like a one bigger milestone, right? Like a one bigger achievement. And then to go from A2 to B, B1, B2, right? Takes a lot of quantum, leap. But also to reach B2 and move to C level, this is another quantum leap to the advanced and proficiency levels. I can say that about the English language, and I'm all ears to hear what did it take you to make this quantum leap to the advanced level of German.
I would even say that it hasn't always been a target, as you said, because I've never thought of achieving C1 in German as the aim to go when I'm learning path. But somehow it happens that in any language and every language that I learn, step by step, I tend to arrive at advanced levels, maybe because I'm pedantic enough to do all the steps on the path as well, maybe because on the way I get more and more curious about how the language works, because anyway, it's my hobby as well as profession. And then it takes me to intermediate and then even advanced levels. I wouldn't even boast about that, but just say, well, this is what I love doing. So what does it take? It takes interest, curiosity, effort, routines, consistency, passion, everything that there is in all the things that we do because we love doing this stuff. I would never achieve a high level in something that I'm not so interested in or not so passionate about. Honestly, if someone told me, okay, now why wouldn't you take an exam in whatever subject I'm not interested in? The first question would be, why would I? I don't want to. I'm not interested in that stuff. Why would I? Yeah, that's also about having a degree. When parents insist on their kids going to university after school because you should have that degree. And if a person is not interested, it would be just boring as a learning path. Yeah, so for me, it's rather, what does it take? It takes passion, interest, and all the things that we've mentioned.
We could have finished already all the podcast with this formulation, because you have the perfect tip or the perfect advice or recommendation from a person who have already achieved a couple of the languages to the advanced level. So maybe we have some new listeners to our podcast. Could you maybe give a context of your linguistic or language, more or less language exposure?
English was my first foreign language that I took as a university course as well. Well, starting at school as everybody does, but then having chosen it as a specialty, as a university course and a degree. So it was English language and literature as my first degree at university back in Ukraine, then Italian as a second language that I was studying at university in Italy, which also took me all the way along from A0 to C2 and the course of, well, a degree, a diploma of Alta Formazione per Docenti, which allowed me to teach Italian as a foreign language and as a second language to foreign students. And now it's German that I started at A1 and took all the courses, having skipped A2 as usual. And that's a problem. We discussed it in one of our previous episodes. Please get back and listen. Then I took B1 and B2 last year in Germany, and now it's C1 that I also took as a language course.
So can I ask a little specific question here? So you started from A0 Italian and you went to C1 plus and over, but do you remember how many, I don't know, semesters, months, hours, years did it take? And whether or not it is comparable at all with German?
It can be comparable, but not exactly, because with Italian, I took A1, which was an intensive course a month long. I came back to Ukraine after achieving A1 and was studying like self-learning for a year until I could get back to Italy. And when I took the entrance exam, it said B1. Okay, so I kind of skipped A2, but not exactly because I was learning at home. Then I took B1. It was also a 1 month intensive course. A year later, I came back, took an entrance test again, and it turned out I could skip B2 because the entrance test, like the placement test, put me into C1. Yeah, it was 2 years after I had taken my first A1 level. Yeah, so 2 years from A1 to C1. But then I could say that, of course, that first C1 was not the C1 and C2 I was taking later. Because at these levels, and here we could also shift a bit to what it means to be advanced and to be learning at advanced levels. You can learn all the grammar of C1. There isn't much new at this level already from the point of view of grammar, as well as from the point of view of language structures and whatsoever. But it takes a lot of reading, listening, communication, culture, all these things that accompany language learning, being not exactly language, but language plus culture, language plus mentality. So then you can continue forever. Yeah. And so these advanced levels in Italian for me continue by now. And there can be words that I still have no idea what they mean. And I get back to learning the definitions, being curious about etymology, and there is way to go always, as well as for native speakers of the language. If they are in contact with the language and culture, they would be able to express themselves better on a higher level, let's say, as well as foreign students.
I totally agree. I think that people who are get into university and they have a prerequisite to show B2 level, those who are passing IELTS, those who are passing B2 or FC or whatever the equivalent is, most of those students think that this is the highest level they can achieve. And therefore they're forming, and school or university is forming the idea that by reaching the B2 level, you have everything you may ever need. But we know that this is everything you may ever need for sure for the communication, to be able to participate in a society to a degree where you feel comfortable with whatever input information, and you should be able to output the information as well. However, those people who are trying to get into humanities or working with with texts, with, some specifics, they normally go more into business English or academic English or professional English. And at this point, some students try to understand, but is it still B2 but a different register, or is it C1 already? And can I take a C1 level if I have B2 and, for example, one of those that I mentioned, and professional in, international economics or in molecular biology or in anything else? How do you feel from your perspective?
First of all, as a native speaker of 2 other languages, I'm not able to participate in a professional discussion in the areas that I'm not familiar with, if that's enough. As an explanation. Yeah, I know the words, I know the structures, I form sentences correctly in my native languages, and still I cannot lead a discussion on a topic that I'm not familiar with. In second languages, more or less the same is happening. If, let's say, as structures, the passive voice is considered to be the key grammar unit of technical documentation, of professional language. And more stress is put on learning this structure, for instance, in professional courses, less so about forming conditional sentences or whatever other irrelevant topic in grammar might be. Anyway, all the grammar topics are part of C1, starting with B2 actually, and then moving forward to the advanced levels, C1, C2, and still a student, a learner of an advanced level as well as, of an advanced level, should be aware of all these structures and should be able to use them, to apply them freely, depending on the context. And then we come to the context of professional communication. The situations of professional communication, if we talk about a language for economics, for business, for whatever, requires the free choice of register and the free choice of relevant grammar structures that a learner should be aware of, should be able to use, and should be able to choose freely based on the needs of professional communication, right?
I still think that the more people are learning with their teachers, with their coaches, to follow this SAFER common reference levels, the more they understand that having academic language or professional language or business English are different skills in the end. I'm not saying that they are different, like all of them need reading, writing, speaking, and listening, but what's inside is completely different sub-skills, let's say. Yeah, so for example, for writing academic texts, you would need completely different set of texts of addressing, of recipients, of your audience than to business proposal or to business, report. Or when it takes the writing to general English test, when you need to write an essay or a narrative or a story, completely different thing. So it does require specific preparation. I remember when we were passing our CA test, do you remember that? We had it the very same day. There was a write an introduction to a novel. I'm sorry, but this is a very specific skill, and not necessarily if people are having professional English and they, lead negotiations internationally, would do this specific task successfully.
Of course, it requires preparation. If we talk about exam preparation, that's another topic yet. And if you know that you're supposed to show mastering these skills in your exam, you would be getting ready, practicing, getting ready to this exact exam that requires this exact knowledge and these exact skills. That's it. But talking more widely, probably exam preparation makes the focus clearer to what the level as well as the professional aspect requires. So then when you look at exam requirements for this level, for this language, for this format, it kind of crystallizes what you need to be prepared for. I would say here, following this experience of mine with taking German C1, I was also curious about what C2 is. If already C1 listening was kind of hard, but curiosity didn't kill the cat again this time, and I downloaded a model test in C2. I was amazed to see that listening and writing were 2 in 1. I just loved the format because unlike in C1, where there is gap filling and multiple choice and some other things in the listening part, in C2, the task is listen to a fragment or a part of a lecture or a report, which is quite long, longer than C1 extracts for listening. Take notes and then write your piece of production, not only mentioning what the speaker had said in the listening part, but being very precise about the key points of what was mentioned and developing this topic using your notes and then developing the topic with your personal opinion which is a longer piece of writing based on a longer continuous listening with the skill of taking notes. That's closer to academic skills that people need for university, as well as for professional communication that presupposes attending seminars, webinars, workshops, professional communication. And that's much more relevant to the world of today than multiple choice and gap filling in C1.
Yeah, I think that the exam formats are very different, or to some extent, let's say so, are different in different languages. However, we still have this common European framework, right, for the levels, and you can be sure that you have an advanced level. You can be a proficient user to a C1 level or C2 level when your certificate or when your test says that, yes, you're perfectly able to understand, a wide range of those texts which have longer scope, which are demanding, and you're able to recognize all those core concepts and implicit meaning, and therefore to use your understanding flexibly, effectively, to whatever purposes you might have, whether they are social, academic, professional, and so on. It also requires a lot of logics, right? So you need to be able to produce a clear, well-structured, logical, coherent, cohesive piece of writing and speaking. Then, yeah, okay, you're a proficient user to an advanced level. But how does it feel to have this level of German?
Do you remember I said after having taken B2, before getting a certificate, that the peak of mastery was at the moment of taking the exam, after which it just goes down rapidly. Now I can say the same. The peak of my proficiency was on the day of the exam, after which I felt relieved, relaxed, and started getting ready to a trip to Italy. And now that I'm in Italy, and that's another episode maybe.
On reversed, recultured, reshock.
So being in Italy, of course, I don't practice my advanced, proficient, flexible German, right? Clearly enough. Still, how does it feel? It feels like if when I was at A1, A2 in German, I was worrying about not knowing which gender a certain noun is. At C1, I am more flexible, meaning that I still might not know which gender a certain noun is. Then what do? I find a synonym which I know is feminine, for instance, and I can use it freely. That's the level of freedom that I could feel. Yeah, I don't know whether this noun is masculine, neutral, or feminine, but I know a synonym that definitely comes from Latin with the ending tion. It's definitely feminine. I have no doubt here. I know how to decline this noun. I know how to decline with the exact, correct, etc. form of an article, an adjective, etc. This requires the knowledge of which gender this noun is. And if I don't know another synonym, I use the synonym that I'm sure about, and then my speech is correct. But it needs awareness, and then allows flexibility of speech. And I feel much better when I can do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. So as a advanced user, you are able to express whatever idea you have fluently by using a range of those items, expressions, units, without much obvious searching for a word. So you still can have that mechanism, okay, which phrase I'm more sure of, yeah, I'm more certain of, and then to use it, and still it doesn't feel like it takes forever to find which phrase you're trying to formulate.
And also, if I don't know what it is, if I can't find a word, I can quite fluently say, oh, I don't remember the word, but the idea is blah, 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 and then paraphrase. Also, to use these German interjections like, oh, naja. Okay, the things that Germans use without loading the speech with much meaning and still sounding natural. Your first question was, what does it take? Yeah, so it takes a lot of listening and not being closed within your shell, yeah, but being open to how people speak, how they express when they are not sure. And not every native speaker finds a word quickly. It happens to all of us in any language. And so then to use the word like, okay, how is that? How do you call that? By the way, how do you call that? And then a person will come and help you with the right word. And you then can recognize and say, oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Or no, that's not what I mean. Anyway, our passive knowledge of the language is always better than active use of vocabulary that we might need. As well, when you say that at advanced levels, a learner can talk about any topic fluently. Here, if we come back to the idea that you remember I skipped A2, and now I cannot talk fluently about the topics like how you call all the objects in the kitchen. I don't know. Each utensil, how is it called and which gender it is? No, but I can fluently say, well, I need this thing to do this. Then I prefer to use the function. By the way, we went to a Chinese shop yesterday to buy some of the household things that we didn't care to take with us. And then, okay, how do you call this thing? No idea. But a Chinese lady who owns the shop doesn't know that either in Italian. So you just say, do you have this thing to like hook a key on? And she says, yes, here it is. The function is much more obvious for both speakers.
And appropriate for communication target, for the goal why you are asking.
Absolutely. I need a thing that I use to do this. Okay, any user of a language would understand this better than if you say the name of an object that another person might not know, just like you might not know it either.
What's the speaking for the German format? What kind of I don't know, fluency, interaction? What are the tasks? What is being tested?
Oh, that's interesting. In this format of the exam, TELC C1 presupposes 3 parts of a speaking exam. The first one gives you 20 minutes of preparation to talk about a topic. You get a piece of paper with 2 topics to choose from, and then develop your ideas on this topic. It should be a structured speaking later, so you're supposed to take notes. There should be no written text, but just items like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and this. You need to talk for 3 minutes, a monologue, based on what you've drafted, yeah, so with an introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. Then, based on this monologue, another person who is your partner in a speaking exam takes notes and summarizes what you've said, and is the second part of the speaking exam. You're also going to listen to a partner, take notes, and then summarize in no more than 1 minute what the person said in their speech. After which, the third part of the exam is discussing usually a quotation that an examiner puts on the table for you. You have a couple of seconds to read the quotation, and then you need to lead a discussion that lasts for 6 minutes. You're just talking, discussing whether you agree or disagree with the quotation, whether you agree or disagree with each other, and you need to use all the necessary phrases, introductory phrases, correct interruptions, as well as examples, as well as maybe summarizing when you feel the time is up. And that's a live discussion.
So you have the interaction part, you're making the remarks to the other's speech, and you try to relate to what was said, or you just summarize it without any kind of opinion.
In the second part, you aren't supposed to say your personal opinion, you just summarize, while in the third part, it's interaction in the pure form. Both of you or three of you, depends on how many people take the exam, discuss the topic that is proposed, like spontaneously. Here you don't have any time to prepare. It's a spontaneous discussion in which some people, that's also a thing about how people are ready to take exams. Funny enough, some people get blocked if they agree with another speaker, and still there needs to be a lively discussion, so they feel there should be some disagreement, and being of the same opinion as the first partner who started speaking, people get blocked very often. Like, for me, it's so natural to say just anything. I might agree and add, or I might agree but say that I disagree, which I did in this exam, by the way. I felt it would be boring just to continue. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I think so too. Like, it doesn't lead to anything. But who cares what I really think? I know what I think, but in a discussion, to show that I can both agree and disagree and lead a discussion, it's okay if what I say is not exactly what I think about this quotation. Who cares? But what the examiners care about, and I know that, is to hear that you know how to lead a discussion, how to use all the necessary communication phrases, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying, the format of the first topic of the first part, right, is very similar to the IELTS exam speaking part 3, I think, when you need to produce a very well-structured, academic, coherent, almost like essay style monologue, right? So, and this is very similar at this point. Summarizing is a very good task. I think I already know who I can give this task a little bit more, and trying to summarize as that actually develops a lot of listening and active listening and summarizing and trying to follow the structure. But also I think that that can teach, I mean, like, not for the exam, but for the practice during the classes, just to teach to be responsible to structure your speech so that others would be able to summarize it. I think there is some kind of a beauty of putting this format to the exam, because I don't know, this might be the most scary part. Like, I don't know what they're going to summarize, or I don't know what they're going to say. What am I supposed to summarize? When there is some kind of responsibility, not only to give, but also to take, I think that teaches a lot to the communication.
And that shows respect to the other participants, of course, when the very simple structure of such a monologue is, I'm going to talk about the topic of blah, blah, blah. In my talk, I'm going to mention the aspects of blah, 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 3 points. And then you continue giving examples or whatever your speaking strategy is, but your partner is ready to summarize after your introduction.
Well, if you know what to say, but I mean, like, maybe some other people are not prepared to the exam and don't know that, so that would be a nightmare, and maybe something like people would be scared of, what am I going to summarize if they are not prepared?
You mean the person who is summarizing together with someone who's not prepared for the speaking part themselves? Okay, yeah, that's a disaster. Anyway, you could learn a strategy how to behave in such a situation. Yeah, so it's also managing stress of the exam. Everything could happen. Another partner could be discouraged by something, could not have had a good night's sleep, whatever could happen. And if you're well prepared, you have a strategy how to deal with this stress, with another person's stress for you, because you need to produce some kind of speaking pattern.
Yeah, that's an interesting format. But in the end, we are all communicating in our real life, and whatever stress there is, whatever happens, I don't know, those people who are going live, who are making podcasts, who are going on radio, they are supposed to be able to produce the spontaneous, coherent, logical, and responsible pieces of text, pieces of their speech. So I think this is an interesting format that prepares for it, for those social communications.
I would add here that our experience of podcasting helped a lot in producing both a monologue and a discussion and summarizing, because both of us, when we go podcasting, we are ready to listen to each other, to summarize in case of need, to produce fluent, flexible speech on a given topic, to agree or disagree, to structure.
But also to live and learn. Whichever exam, whichever level, there are the opportunities to learn your strategies, to get prepared, to know what to expect, to perform to your best, and to enjoy your learning and passing the exams.
Live and learn.
Live and learn.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you share Live and Learn philosophy, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on all the major social media, comment, and spread the word about this podcast so that more people could get their weekly portion of growth mindset content. Live and learn.